And this guy's saying every 3 months or so they get an infestation in the plant that he worked at.
If you are receiving this transmission,
I had to throw this down, guys. You should know about this at least. At least if you get them, you might know where they came from.
We are in the final hour of the War Room. I am now joined by our news director, Rob Dew, and he has been following an interesting story that has actually caught some legs here. And it's one that you don't really think about this angle. Now, I'm just going to start this off with this report because this is a report that I saw today on Amazon. And then he was like, hey, did you see the other news about Amazon? I was like, no. So I had to get him to come here and talk about this. The story that I found, this was from the Free Beacon, 10% of Amazon's Ohio workforce on food stamps. So this is a multi-billion-dollar company. In fact, Jeff Bezos' value they believe it just went north of $100 billion. So Bezos continues to get rich as he's buying up the Washington Post, buying up Whole Foods. But somehow Amazon doesn't have enough money, doesn't have enough cash flow to pay their employees enough so that they don't have to go on food stamps. You know, I just got to say, thank God that I don't work for a liberal like Jeff Bezos and I work for a conservative like Alex Jones. Alex Jones would never put any of his employees in a situation like that. But here Bezos is a $105 billionaire and his employees have to go on food stamps. I mean, that really tells you, I think, a lot about Jeff Bezos and the lack of concern he has for his employees.
Well, and a lot's coming out about Amazon lately. It was about 2 weeks ago, I think we interviewed the guy who was a whistleblower from Amazon who worked there. And then we recorded the interview, pre-recorded it, and then we put it out. And there was a lot of interesting things among the majority of the immigrants that they hire in to displace regular workers, which is probably why most of them are on food stamps, because they bring in people who Democrats latch onto and go, hey, this is how you work the system, and this is how you get your freebies. And then,
as long as you vote Democrat,
exactly,
look for that Democrat.
Exactly. And then the other instance is the horrid health conditions that are in these areas, which you have employees washing their private areas in the bathrooms, like just leaving messes everywhere. But one of the grossest things, which that was gross, but one of the grossest things is what happens when they have bed bug infestations. So the whistleblower talks about how they get clothes back in from different areas from all over, and they have to, I guess, their returns. So they're fixing them up to sell them back as new again. That was part of it. But then he talks about what happens when they find bed bugs in the area. So I want to go to that video clip here in just a second. And this is it's just a clip from the whistleblower, and then talk about today in this is Bloomberg. Yeah, these are the U.S. cities with the worst bed bug infestations, and it's Dallas is number 10, but number 1 is Baltimore. Baltimore and D.C. 1 and 2. That's where the worst bed bugs are. And you got Chicago, L.A., San Francisco, Detroit.
These are all
Columbus.
Democrat-run cities. What's going on with that?
They are. Well, Dallas isn't. Dallas might be, the city is, but the state isn't overall. But where these are, and if you look at a map of where Amazon has a lot of their areas, it matches up. So I'll put that overhead camera so they can see that. You have the this is the map of where they are, and then here's where the cities are. So you got LA, you got all these other cities.
So it's actually a fact that you can correlate these bed bug ridden cities right to an Amazon place, essentially. I mean, whether the correlation is real or not, at least on a map you can make it.
It's interesting where, you got a lot of these right here, and then there's a lot right in here. But let's go to the clip. Let's listen to what our whistleblower had to say about this.
And then we got to the real major issue that I thought was not handled properly at all, which was bed bugs. With the count of items that we brought in, millions upon millions every week, we would show up with bed bugs, or we would have bed bugs show up every 3 months, sometimes more often, sometimes a little less. But all they would do was section off the area. They would wrap it with caution tape, follow the item back to where it came from, section off that area, and then they would wait for Black Diamond exterminators to come in and spray the areas that were found to have bed bugs near them. This sometimes would take 5-6 hours after they would caution tape it. And you ask me, those bugs don't care about caution tape.
No,
They're
they don't.
around, they're doing their thing.
They never actually got rid of it.
I don't know what they were thinking, but they didn't handle that at all the way it's supposed to be. And then, I think it was last year, GE found bed bugs in their plant that made washers, and it made local national news. Amazon never brought that to anybody's attention, and we're dealing with clothing that's going from house to house, country to country, that, it could be potentially spreading all kinds of issues across the country without anybody's notice because
Nobody's talking about that, are they?
Well, that actually makes sense to me, when I think about that, Rob, because, okay, you've got GM. This is an American car manufacturer.
Oops.
They hate that. I mean, they cause global warming.
No,
so there's
washing
GE.
dryer.
GE. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought you said GM.
So they were making washing machines, and they found bed bugs in their plant.
Okay.
And it made news everywhere. I haven't heard a word about Amazon and bed bugs, and this guy's saying every 3 months or so they get an infestation in the plant that he worked at. Who knows how many other, I guess, distribution centers, not plants, but these are distribution centers. So it makes you wonder. And another part of this is also immigrants, tourists and immigrants behind the U.S. bedbug plague. This is an article from 2003, so this has been going on for a while. I believe it was out of the Telegraph. And basically, it's people coming into our country bringing the bedbugs in. Now, here's a study from Entomology, Ornithology, and Herpetology from 2007,
Who doesn't get a package from Amazon?
I believe. No,
Like every
2014, from the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville. And they found also in their study that most of the bed bugs are coming from immigrants. In fact, I'll go to the spot where they say they trace it to. And they say and they list the states, which are most of the ones in here, have the most bed bugs in. It's New York, Ohio, Florida, California, and Illinois. And it's high. They say high infestation rates are due to immigrants and strangers who come from other places and carry the bugs with them. So it's an immigrant problem, but could it also be an Amazon problem or even a mail order problem, like the mail order industry in general? There are lots of people buy clothes over the internet now, and they get them shipped to them. So could these giant processing centers be where bed bugs are getting moved around from place to place? And people don't know. They bring the package in, they put the box down, they crawl out of the box, and then
they're in your home.
Yeah, and it costs around an average hotel costs about $17,000 just to get these out of here. So this could be a big problem that's going on.
So it's not cheap fumigation, which really, to me, I mean, you look at this situation, you see the story where 10% of Amazon's Ohio workforce is on food stamps. You've got this story with, we have a whistleblower call into the show saying that they don't think there's a proper, solving of the problem with the bed bugs in the actual plant. They just put tape on the floor. It's like, hey, a bug doesn't see a tape. It can't read. It's going to walk right across that. And then who knows? Are they shipping these things across the land? Are they in the clothing? Nobody knows. But it sounds to me that this is just all about bottom line for Amazon. They don't want to pay for fumigation of bed bugs. They don't want to pay their employees. So at the bottom line is all that matters.
Well, and the problem with bed bugs is it takes a lot. You have to seal off the area. You have to fumigate it. It's not just...
We can't afford that. Screw
it. You can't
it.
just really spray with poison or lay some poison down or something. It's not like using boric acid for roaches. I mean, it's a lot different than that. You really have to go after these guys.
Well, I'm sure the Washington Post will cover this, though. I'm sure the Amazon Washington Post.
Exactly.
Oh, wait.
They're going to be the ones to break the story.
Yeah, that's amazing how that happens. But also, before we let you go, you wanted to talk about a Bundy development.
Well, from the USA Today, they had Cliven Bundy to walk free as federal judge dismisses the standoff case. So Judge Gloria Navarro said this. Navarro said it was clear the FBI was involved in the prosecution in the case and that it was not a coincidence that most of the evidence withheld came from the FBI. And I'm thinking Vegas shooting automatically, same FBI is involved in this case that's involved in the FBI shooting. And, of course, it's going to take a year for their report to come out because they have to withhold evidence from people. And we know they've been withholding evidence from us. They tried it about when he came into the hotel, when he left the hotel, all this other stuff. So once again, we see the FBI being at the center of conspiracy.
Is Agent Roos involved in that?
Well, Agent Roos is the head of that department.
So Agent Roos, who was the guy who was basically domineering over the Vegas media pressers, is this potentially the same guy leading this Bundy deal?
Well, I don't know if he's the same guy leading it, but he is the head of that office.
Okay, so maybe we've identified a dirty FBI potentially here with the way they handled the Vegas shooting and the Bundy Ranch standoff. Rob Dew, the news director here. Thanks for joining us. We'll be right back.